It is time to glaze your rattles. We are going to apply a low fire glaze to your rattles. You are going to focus the glaze only in the texture, the area that sinks back on the form. That is what's going to pick up the glaze. A finished example would be this rattle. You can see that in the foreground is the raw clay, but in the background, in the grooves and the texture, you can see the glaze pops. Before you begin glazing, you want to make sure that you thoroughly shake your glaze. Make sure that your hand is pressing against the lid of the container so that you don't end up flinging your glaze everywhere. Thoroughly shake your glaze first. And then you're going to need to use your detail glaze brush that I sent home to you, or if you're working in the studio, we have them on the side counter. So you want to make sure that as you're applying, that you're not applying glaze to the entire surface, that you're focusing the glaze in the grooves and the texture. Now, when you first apply, it is going to look a little bit sloppy, and that's okay, because I'm going to show you after this entire form has glaze in the grooves, I'm going to show you how to wipe away or remove the glaze. We will only be using this glaze technique this year with these rattles, but this is a technique that you can choose to apply in the future with your work. But this is the only concept this year in which I will require you to only glaze the textural areas. Once you have applied the glaze in all of the grooves and textural areas, you want to take your glaze sponge and wipe away the surface. This will remove the glaze from the raised areas, and that will enable me to have a surface to set it on the kiln shelf. You cannot completely glaze something in the round and not have a clean area for it to sit on the kiln shelf. So not only will this serve the function of being able to set it on a clean surface, but it will also allow the highlight of the form to be that beautiful texture that you created on your rattle. So I'm going to take my time and really clean the glaze off of the surface, and you can see that it remains in the grooves. Once you have all the raised area glaze removed, you are then done. But this part does take a little bit of time, so be patient with it. Make sure you have a nice size bowl of clean water to remove that glaze. You are using low fire glazes for this process. So that means that when you're done glazing, it needs to go back on the low fire glaze shelf. And then if you choose, you may choose to throw a base for your rattle form. So you have a little base for your rattle to sit in. After you are done glazing your work, you are going to place it on the low fire glazeware only shelf. This is where I pull from to load the kilns. You want to make sure that you wipe off the foot. You see that last bullet point on the notes. Wipe off the foot or the base of the form prior to placing it back on the shelf. If you are not done glazing and it is in progress, just place a note inside that says, please do not fire. And then I know that you're putting another coat on there and you don't want it loaded into the kiln.